All right. Before I say anything else, first of all, pay no attention to this background video unless it has nothing to do with what I'm saying in this thing. I just needed something in the background, some little press for time here. So this is the conference championship game I played against Shift and Southern Miss. Since for whatever reason YouTube and my computer couldn't cooperate for the recap video, I guess this will have to do. With that said, to my Big 12 coaches, I apologize for really not being around a whole lot the last couple of weeks. Those of you that I've talked to understand why. Not the most easiest time in personal life, but it is what it is. With that being said, since this is the last day that I have access to the computer, and I really should have done this earlier before I head home, let me go ahead and give you guys something to listen to. So this will be a season recap. Now that I definitely do not have any commitments to much of anything going back home, I'm not sure how, but I'm going to try and see if I can put something together for bowl previews. I know bowls come out later today. It's 5 in the morning. I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to help with that or be around for the show, because I'm not sure flight stuff, but we shall see. But with that, that doesn't matter. What matters is we look at what's been going on in the Big Ten. So let me find my trusty notebook that I had some Big Ten stuff in, or did I already put that in the suitcase? Speaking of that too, while I'm looking for that, wrong notebook, of course, I plan on later today, after I land, later tonight probably, I plan on going through and looking over all the recaps and stuff. So I will do that, and if I have any questions or whatever, or if you guys have any questions for me, just let me know. It shouldn't be that hard to get in touch with. Having better Wi-Fi at the parents' house will make it easier, since I can just have my phone on AIM and Wi-Fi all the time. And odds are my PS3 will be on an awful lot anyway, and I'll actually be around on it and not just have it on just for the sake of being on. So let's look at a couple of things here. I'm sure by now everyone knows that Wisconsin won the conference. So congrats to D. Kane. I already told him congrats over AIM. Also, D. Kane, I didn't get a chance to get to it before I left. And what time is it now? It's almost 5:30. Probably not going to be able to wait around. I mean, I guess I could go to Walmart, but it's a little inconvenient. I will get you your $10 PSN network card. Can't do 20. Need the extra $10 for Christmas gifts. I'm sure you understand, but you did win the pick'em, even though I've kind of fell off with that. You were winning, and you did a pretty good job, even though I had a notebook going. I might actually make a big, massive Word post with all the stuff that I had, so people can see how they did, those that participated. But you won, so one of these days before Christmas, expect a PSN code for $10. Maybe you'll use it on Call of Duty, since I see you on that a lot. So I guess we can start with that. Definitely been a lot going on this season, and I think I'll do a team-by-team breakdown. So I've got about 40 minutes of time to kill, so you guys will get 40 minutes of me rambling about stuff. So how do I want to do this? I guess we'll just start in order. We'll go through it division by division, just kind of look at the team. And I think this was the notebook that had players of the week. Too much random things in these notebooks. Yeah. Crap. That's not even the right one. This only has it till week 8. Alright, we're going to wing it. I'll listen to this later and I'll type all this up anyway. I said I was going to do that last time and I never did. So, that being said, let's look at the leaders division first. And coming up in the rear, legends, let me get the right one. Coming in the rear was Coach Victim, one of the few winless teams here, 0-12. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games got sim. I know there's a lot of sims. I just saw that from the emails. So I'm not sure if anything happened to him. Hope everything's okay. Said I've been out the loop. But he did play 4 games, and one was a loss to Michigan, 10-38. And then early in the season, 3 of the first 4 games before his bye, lost to Plasma in Miami, Ohio, 15-34. And BYU 7-28 and Washington State 13-42. I'm pretty sure I went over those in an earlier thing. Just kind of looking at stats. Not a whole lot of stats. So lead quarterback Coulter for the season, 26-47, 333 yards, 2 TDs and 5 picks. Leading rusher was Green with 38. Jones led the team in receptions and yards with 12 and 160 respectively, 2 TDs. Defensively, Campbell, who I believe I had as a preseason All-American, had 13 tackles to lead the team. Hampton, defensive tackle with 2 sacks, and really that's about it. So not a whole lot to see here. The Cup made it to the second round of sim win over Duke, and then Florida lost 3-28. And that pretty much sums up Northwestern's season. So moving up to 5th place, you've got Minnesota and Coach Untouchable, Mr. Game of the Week. Finished 4-8 on the season, 1-7 in conference. They had a lot of home games, 8 of them, 3-5 at home, 1-3 on the road, so not bad. And looking at his thing on NDL2 says, the Minnesota Golden Gophers suck. Team started out 2-0 on the season and looked poised to make a run, but then dropped 6 in a row. 5 of those last 6 losses, they've been outscored 168-17. That's just terrible. And he goes on to say they need to win their last 4 to become bowl eligible. Well, they won 2, so not bad. And those 2 would be Northwestern and North Texas. So their 4 wins were those 2, Army at home and Western Michigan. The losses ranked San Diego State, go Aztecs, Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue, Michigan, Illinois, Nebraska, and Michigan State. And we played in the first round of Cup. It was a close game. I eked it out to knock them out. And that's what you got looking at the games played. And since there's actually not a lot of sims, we can look at some things. So stat-wise, Gray on the season, 1,348 yards passing, 9 TDs, and 28 picks. And I'm sure with 8 losses, 28 picks had a lot to do with that. Running the ball, Gillum led the team with rushes and yards, 105, 362. He had 118 yak yards, or rack yards, whatever you want to. It's all the same to me. About a little shy of a third, so able to drag some piles, break some tackles there. Receiving, Moulton led the team in receptions with 21, and with yards, 385, 3 TDs. Also led the team in drops with 7. A lot of drops all the way around for the team. You can see 11, 16, 24 drops. And 3 receivers with over 300 yards, so spreading the ball around. Look at defense. Safeties really doing a lot of work with this team. combined for 105 tackles. Thompson with 61 himself, Manuel with the other 44. Both had a pick apiece. Interception leader was Ryan Grant, linebacker, with 4. And sacks leader was Hageman. Bad at pronouncing names, but he had 3 at defensive tackles, so D tackles doing some work. And he ran a kickback with Harbison, receiver. I believe he was one of the receivers that had over 300 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And that would be correct. He had 3 touchdowns receiving and then 1 kick return, so that's pretty cool. Looking at team stats, the issue is definitely scoring. They average 13.42 points per game on offense. That is good for 120 overall and last in the conference. And defensively, much the same issues with giving up points. They gave up 28 points, 28 in the third, and that would be good for 116th in the league and also last in the conference. So issues with that. Turnovers would be a reason why, averaging 2.6 turnovers per game. That's good for 105th in the nation. And not really getting them back. About a little over 1 interception per game. Defensively, that's 79th. And then touchdowns, 1 or 2 every 3 games. That's 107th. So some issues there with getting in the end zone. And the offense just overall, the turnovers, I'm sure, is what really did it. Time of possession, basically about -4 from the average, and that would be why not being able to hold on to the ball. So that's Minnesota. Moving along, we have 4th place in the division, Coach M. Bird, a vet, I believe, and also played in Madden, I believe, too, or I can't remember, in Swelly's league. He finished 4-8 on the season, 3-5 in conference. Looking at his schedule, from what I can see, there were 3 sim games, loss to Penn State, wins against Northwestern and Iowa State. As for the rest of his schedule, let's see, he's just starting from the top. Actually, we'll start with the losses, or the wins since there were fewer. He beat Minnesota 37, Northwestern sim win. Purdue 33-17, and one is missing. Oh yeah, Iowa State sim. And then losses, he lost to Ohio by a point, 28-29. Georgia 17-52. Boston College 33-37. Michigan State 14-27. Penn State sim. Indiana 22-29. Michigan 20-27, and Nebraska 21-31. So just looking at this. Take away the sim, and then you got 7 losses, and 4 of them were within a touchdown. So shows you how close he was to being able to turn this into a bowl-eligible season. Let's pull up the stats here, what Iowa has going on. A nice cheerleader pick there. I'm sure you guys could appreciate that. Oh, come on, PS3. I know you can move faster than this. Maybe it can't. Well, unless this is messed up, it says that there are no stats. So, there's no stats. That makes that really easy. I'll have to double check that just to make sure go through. Before I mark all that stuff down, pull up team stats. No, I'm doing that. I should go ahead and pull up my favorite team. So let's see, team stats. Might be skewed. I have to look and see how going on. But overall, yeah, it's definitely got to be skewed because time possession is extremely low. But from what I can tell, points, they average 23 points, so that's 42nd in the nation, about middle of the pack in the conference, so upper third. Points allowed 26.83, 108. Bottom quarter of the league. Offense was middle of the pack. Total offense middle of the pack, along with rushing, 66 and 68. One of the better passing attacks, 48, so a little above average. Sacks in the upper third with almost 2 sacks a game. A lot of turnovers, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why they lost some close games, not being able to hold on to the ball and having it cost them in the end. But as far as their defense generating turnovers, they were middle of the pack to help balance it out some, and pretty good at scoring TDs a game, at least compared to most, so on average. So, my favorite team here, finishing at third place, Nebraska. Speaking of Nebraska, I wonder if I have this thing, if it still works. I've always wanted to do this if I ever got a chance to get Nebraska, or keep Nebraska before I thought about doing this. I wonder if this still works. I always wanted to do that. Alright, you can go off now. Not. There we go. I always wanted to do that. Unfortunately, some people that play on the mic when I had Nebraska had to hear that, or in some cases had to come to the house and play me and hear that before getting a PS3. Sorry, Sean. But Nebraska, they would finish 6-6, so just squeaking in at bowl eligible. Looking at their games played, they only had one sim game, and that was against Northwestern, which I'm sure most people, it seems, got that. So looking at their schedule, 6 wins, 6 losses. The losses was Wisconsin by 2 TDs, 20-34. Ohio State, 17-34. Michigan, 17-24. Michigan State, 7-38. And Penn State, 14-28. And at the beginning, Stanford, 24-38. Wins, Georgia Tech 24-10, Louisville 23-13, Pitt 31-14, the sim, and then Minnesota 37-14 and Iowa 31-21. So going 2-0 on that last block to get those last wins. Looking at their cup run, they made it to the 4th round, losing to Texas A&M by a touchdown, 37-44, but beat Southern Miss and ULL and Virginia to get that far. So good season all around for Nebraska. Let's look at some stats. I'm sure Rex had a good season, or at least I know you did when I was doing the Players of the Week. So I'm pretty sure I had to do some thinking about some of those. Trying to spread those out. So, passing, Taylor, 125 out of 212. 2241 yards, 10 TDs, 19 picks. Rex did break 1,000 on the ground, 188 carries for 14 TDs, along with 69. Also of note, Martinez, he's a option type quarterback, can do a lot, or I should say dual threat quarterback. 106 for 292 yards and 3 TDs himself, along with 77. So not bad at all. And receiving, 4 players, 2 receivers, and a running back in Rex, and tight end and Reed with over 20 catches, over 24 catches, spreading the yards around, spreading the TDs around, so balanced passing attack. Defensively, I'm sure Compton led the team in tackles. 70 tackles for Will, 20 of them for a loss, and 4 sacks. What else of note here? Stafford is a safety, had 12 tackles for a loss, so pretty impressive there, helping out in the run. Sacks, the leader was 8, Meredith. And he also had 25 tackles on the season. And I think that sums up the defense. And no return touchdowns. As far as team stats, offense was very efficient, over 300 yards of offense, so good for 18th in the nation. Big part because of their running attack, 119, good for 18th in the nation as well. One of the better passing teams as well, too, in the top quarter. So really doing things on offense. Defense did their part. 2 sacks a game, good for 31st in the nation. And forcing about 2.75 turnovers a game. Interceptions, they were 28th, and fumbles recovered 9th. So not bad. Good time in possession as well, too. About close to 15 minutes, so that's 20th. Not bad. Good ball control and defense being able to get the turnovers. That's what I got for Nebraska. So the runner-up in the Legends, one of 2 teams with a winning record in the conference, or a winning conference record in the division. Let me get it right. In Michigan, as they finish 8-4 on the season. So I'm sure it's not what Rye was expecting or hoping for now that he's finally got his team. But good effort nonetheless. 2 conference losses. I believe one was to Michigan State. That would be so. And the other was to Purdue. And their cup run ended in round 3. A win in the first round against Maryland, bye in round 2, and then losing to Arkansas. So, looking at the losses, the 4, I already mentioned the 2 conference losses, and lost to Duke by a point and Notre Dame by a field goal. Not having luck against the rivals this season, or at least for that, and Michigan State. The wins, Virginia 28-7, Central Michigan 28-10, Illinois 27-14, Nebraska 24-17, Minnesota 31-0, Northwestern 38-10, Iowa 27-20, and then a sim win over Ohio State. Or if it wasn't a sim, it was 24-21. I just assume every time I see it, it is. Passing the ball, Robinson, 924 yards, 7 TDs, and 3 picks. Rushing the ball, Fitzgerald led the team in rushes, 90 yards, 489. But Robinson in touchdowns with 6, so combined 13 TDs for Shoelace. Receiving, Gallon and Roundtree both tie with 11 receptions. Gallon had more yards by 18 and 1 more touchdown, 2-1. So we got defensively, Kovacs are leading the team in tackles and sacks. And because that's a different thing. Brink with 4 sacks lead the team. And Floyd and Countess with 3 interceptions apiece and leading the team. Tied for team leading that. That's what we got with player stats. Good defensively for sure. Only allowing 15 points per game. Good for 6th overall in the nation. Best in the conference. Offense, point-wise, 23. Good for 46. Offensively, very, very good running the ball, as you can imagine. 133 yards per game, 14th in the nation. Passing was middle of the pack at 62 with 156 yards. And overall offense, 284, about 285 for 36. 2 sacks per game. Generate more turnovers than offensive turnovers. Offensive turnovers a little above average. Defensive turnovers in about the upper part of the second quarter. And time possession also very good. So second in the nation, about 17 minutes a game. So very efficient offensively. All right, and get a time check here real quick. About 25 minutes, still got 40 minutes. Okay. That's Michigan. And then the winner of the division, of course, Michigan State. Pretty sure that he's won this division an awful lot the last couple of seasons. Let me think. He won both on this year's game. Last year there were 3. Did I start at Michigan on last year's game? Yes, and he won. So that's for sure 5, I believe, in a row. I might be wrong on that, but regardless, they're having a lot of success here in Michigan State. So Weasel goes 10-3 on the season. The actual regular season, he went 10-2, 6-2, 7-1 in conference, but 7-2 overall at the conference championship game. So as I said at the beginning, they lost 21-42. Also had a good cup run as well. Made it to 7th round. I can't remember what exactly that is off the top of my head, but losing 26-42 to Arkansas, had a couple of impressive wins in that streak. Connecticut 34-0, North Carolina 34-31, UCLA 8-0, and Florida 28-24. And for that matter, Stanford 24-14. So that is right there. Out of the 7 games played, that's 5 of them against teams that have been ranked for the majority of the season, or should have been in North Carolina's case. And the losses, of course, the Wisconsin loss. They lost them in the season as well, 14-26. And then lost to Notre Dame 21-38. And going down the wins, you've got over Akron against Little Bro, 42-10. Texas State 31-16. UTEP 48-28. Ohio State 38-31. Indiana 49-24. Iowa 27-14. Michigan 31-16. Nebraska 38-7. And then Northwestern. Minnesota 41-7. Too many things open. That's why. All right. Maxwell, of course, leads the way on offense. 140 out of 190. Though I'm not been up for a while, so I can't do the math inside my head. But I know completing 10 out of 10 more passes, which is very likely, will put him at 75% on the season. So I'm guessing that's falling somewhere between like 68 and 71% at where he's at right now. It's very impressive. Yardage-wise, 2,726, 30 TDs, 24 picks, QB rating of 221. On the ground, Bell, 172 carries for 1,125 yards and 10 TDs. So between the two of them, that's almost 3,000 yards of offense. It's really scary. And even more so is the fact that the ball is spread around. No 1,000-yard receiver. You had 5 players with over 20 catches. 4 players with over 4 touchdowns. 5 with over 3. And 7 different people had a touchdown reception. So, yeah, that's really spreading the ball around right there. On defense, Max leads the team in tackles with 48. Sacks, you have 2. You have Allen, a linebacker, with 7. You've got Golston with 7 as well, defensive end. Picks, Adams with 5. And surprisingly, no defensive touchdowns. Usually get guaranteed one of those per season. Not a lot of field goals because they score touchdowns. No need for them. And I'm sure on offense that they had really good numbers looking at team stats. Oh, yeah. So points, 32 points per game, about 33. So that's 6th overall in the nation. Offense, 387 yards, 2nd overall, number 1 in the conference. On the ground, 102 is good for 34th. The number 1 passing team in the nation with 284 yards per game. Also very high in offensive touchdowns, 2nd overall in the nation, 1st in the conference with 4, a little over 4 per game. So, and then points allowed, they gave up 21. Well, they're pretty sure the defense on the field, a lot having to deal with the pass since they had the lead in a lot of their games and probably for a big majority. So the fact that they finished 44th is still very impressive. Moving along to the other side of the bracket here, we're going to take a look at the Legends or Leaders division. I was getting mixed up. And this was an interesting one. So going back real quick, the Legends, you had 3 teams that were bowl eligible. That's Nebraska, Michigan, and Michigan State. Here in the Leaders, you have 4 that were eligible. And Purdue possibly, depending on how many 6-6 teams there are. If 5 and 7 teams needed, depending on their resume, I don't know. So we're actually going to start out where they finished in conference. So even though they finished 7-5, tied for 3rd best record in the division, they finished tied for 5th, same thing, in conference play at 3-5. The PS3 will cooperate. Come on. I don't have anything in the meantime to even look at. Of course, that site will load. Alright, so if that's working, I know the internet's still not, and shut it down. There we go. So, Stimpin. Played him a couple times. Good coach. Good guy. Got his team. I said 3-5 in conference play, but overall 7-5 on the season. So looking at how their season played out, the losses: Michigan State 31-38, Purdue 14-17, Illinois, I'm assuming that was a sim, and Michigan, I'm assuming a sim as well. Could be wrong. And Wisconsin losing 21-42. The wins: Wyoming 38-21, Toledo 14-10, Vanderbilt 28-23, Nebraska 34-17, Indiana 37, Penn State 47-31, and then I believe a sim win against Temple. In the Cup, they made it to round 3, beating Arkansas State and Iowa, which they did not play in the regular season, thankfully, so they have one of those situations, and then lost to Oregon 6-31. So looking at stats, you got Mr. Braxton Miller. Remember him very well for what I saw him do against Nebraska in real life. 47-74 for 900 yards, 5 TDs, and 7 picks. Hall led the team in rushing. He also had 3 TDs. Miller had 4 TDs rushing. Of note, receiving-wise, Corey Brown led the team in yards, Smith in receptions, and got that wrong. Smith in touchdowns, Stoneburner in receptions. Defensively, Barnett, safety, led the team in tackles and also tied for lead in tackles for loss. Sack leader is Goebel, or if that's not how you say his last name, I'll say his first name, Garrett, in defensive tackle. So it's very cool to see defensive tackles actually making an impact on this game. They feel like they're just there. And corner Travis Howard leading the team in interceptions with 3. And nothing of note return-wise. Moving to stats. Team stats here. Points scored, about 27. 23rd overall in the nation. Points against, about 23. So a little below average. Offense was a little below average, 190 yards per game altogether, 48 on the ground, 142 through the air. Turnovers about as close to the middle as you can get, 1 2/3 approximately, and forcing a little less than that defensively. So it did touchdowns 2 per game. Excuse me. So a little above average there, and then below average in time of possession. That is them. 5th, you've got Indiana. Also finishing 7-5 on the season, so making a bowl, but going 3-5 in conference play. The losses were Michigan State 24-49, Ohio State 7-30, Wisconsin 0-27, Penn State 21-24 sim, and Purdue 13-17. Wins: Memphis 14-10, UMass 10-0, San Jose State 21-17, Texas State 31-10, Northwestern sim, Illinois sim, and Iowa 29-22 in the Cup. Beat South Florida and Kansas, and then lost to Boise. 6 o'clock. What's he doing up? All right. Anyway, look at stats. Leading the way through the air, Roberson. 380 attempts, 192 of them completed, 2,100 yards and 1. 13 TDs, 26 picks. On the ground, Houston, 1,331 yards on 248 carries, 10 TDs. Receiving, at 2 receivers with over 50 receptions, Chester and Hughes, both with over 600 yards, both with over 5 touchdowns, also with over 4 drops. They definitely led the way in the passing attack. You had Houston sneak in there too with some receptions and yards, a couple TDs. Defensively, Murphy leading the team in tackles, strong safety with 69. Sacks, Rayside with 5. Defensive end to lead the way in that stat. Interceptions, you had 2 with 5 and 1 with 8. Mullen with 8 and Barnett and Dahlstrom with 5. So really getting after the ball defensively there. Again, I believe there's no defensive touchdowns. There's 1. Never mind. Barnett. And that definitely would be an interception since he had 5 and no fumbles. Let's see. Nothing of note on special teams. Overall team stats. Even for all the yards they got passing the ball. Not as many points as I'm sure he would like. 18 points on average, 99th overall. Defensively, very good, allowing 20 and 2/3 about, 31st overall. And that's definitely can tell the difference in the wins and losses, the point spread, because that not too often you'll see a team have more wins and end up giving up more points, but it is what it is. Get in the backfield a lot, and definitely, like I said, the interceptions. So 2.33 sacks per game defensively, good for 22nd in the nation. That's 4th in the conference. And interceptions, 2.75 on average per game. So 10th overall in the nation, 2nd in the conference. So very, very good defensively. Only bad thing is they got 2.75 interception per game. They also turn it over at the same rate on offense, and that's 108th. And 2nd to last in the conference. So I'm sure that hurt some in the late game situation, the close games, or helped some games get out of hand. So in 4th place in the leaders division is Illinois and Coach Brown Bear. 4-4 in the conference, but 4-8 overall, so not bowl eligible. And let's see. The losses, and we'll start with the wins. Beat Ohio State. That was a sim, Northwestern sim. Minnesota 31-14, and Penn State. Losses: Notre Dame 21-40. Really tough out-of-conference schedule for sure. Notre Dame 21-40. Connecticut 28-38. Houston 14-20. And Boise 35-38. Then in conference, Wisconsin 14-42. Michigan 14-27. Indiana, Purdue 14-23. And in the Cup, they lost to Fresno in the first round. So taking a look at some stats here. If I can pull this up and make sure that it's still recording. Come on, keyboard. Run out of time, but we got about 20 minutes. All right. So Nathan leading the way passing, even though two quarterbacks with a lot of play time here. So Nathan was 85 of 151 for 1,196 yards, 10 TDs, and 15 picks. Riley, 86 out of 128, so one more completion on 23 less attempts. 1,115 yards, so fewer yards, but more efficient. 8 TDs and 10 picks. So quarterback rating was 145.4, the better of the two. Running game, pretty well, Ferguson led the team in the rushes. He didn't lead the team in yards. Nathan did. Not a lot of running going on there. And wow, lots of people caught the ball. Let's count. 13 different people, or 13 different eligible, well, whatever. 13 different players caught the ball on the offense. From receiver down to tight end to fullback. And the backup running back. So definitely spreading the ball around. The receptions were spread around. In the upper tier here, yard spread, TD spread. So a lot going on there. Defensively, Brown and Hull tied for team lead in tackles with 53. Sacks, the leader, I assume, was Brown with 3. Yep. And then interceptions, three players with 2. Green, the corner. Hull, the strong safety. And Sani, the free safety. And 1 defensive touchdown this season. And a punt return by Terry Hawthorne, corner. 80-yard return. So always cool to see punt returns. This is very rare on this game. And let's see, looking at team stats. Didn't have the ball a whole lot. And only averaging a little shy of 7 minutes per game with the ball. I'm sure that has something to do with the Sims. So I'm probably going to just throw that out. Big thing was turnovers, 2.25 offensively, and that is 89th in the country. Offense, 22 points overall, about middle of the pack at 60. Allowed 27.42, and definitely near the bottom there, last in the conference. Not last in the conference, third to last, sitting at 10th. Good passing attack, though, 186 yards through the air, good for 40th in the country. And that really highlights Illinois' season. So moving to third, you have Purdue and Coach Chesker, finishing 5-7 on the season and 5-3 in conference play. Purdue. I think 1 pick away from getting Nebraska. Well, looking at their season, clearly it's not going to pop up, and it's just going to be difficult for no reason. There we go. All right, 5 wins. The wins were Michigan 21-14, Ohio State 17-14, Minnesota 31-3, Illinois 23-14, and Indiana 17-13. So look at Indiana was ranked for a good portion of the season, maybe all of it, can't remember. Ohio State and Michigan, so picking good teams to get those wins against. And lost in the Cup, and North Carolina 7-16. The loss in the season, Iowa 17-33, Penn State 14-24, Wisconsin 16-24. I'm pretty sure that was a close game at the half. Kansas State 0-21, Miami 10-20, Louisiana Tech 7-27, and Notre Dame 10-34. In the passing attack, Marv definitely got benched pretty fast. 2 TDs and 14 picks on the season. He had 92 attempts. Got benched for Caleb, 102 of 181, 1,594 yards, 11 TDs, and 20 picks. On the ground, Bolden, 242 carries for 1,080 yards, 4 TDs. Through the air, Ross led the team in reception with 31 and yards, 634. But Wright, the tight end, would lead in TDs with 4. And he and I don't even know how to say that guy's name. Why are so many people? Whatever. Tight end had 7 drops, even though he had 4 TDs. And this other guy, Raheem, I'm not even trying to say his name. He had 8 drops too. So not able to hold on to the ball. I'm not sure who the quarterback was. Maybe after Marv got benched, they started catching the ball better. Not sure. On defense, Beckford led the team in tackles with 76. Lucas leading the team with tackles for a loss, and linebacker with 16. Sacks, Gaston with 8 in defensive tackle. Picks, leader was 6. Josh Johnson and Ricardo Allen both tied with 6. And I believe just 1 defensive touchdown. Yep. Made about 2/3 of the field goals, 12-17. And nothing of note on special teams other than that. We had team stats. Struggled scoring the ball, but played good defense. Typical Chusker defensively. Giving up a little shy of 21 points per game. Good for 38th overall. And 4th in the conference. On offense, only scoring 15 and a quarter. So 118th overall. Turnovers, of course, he's always good at forcing those. A little over 2 per game, so 36 overall. But turned the ball over a lot. 3 turnovers per game. So in the bottom 10 in that one, sitting at 115. And sacks generating 2.67 per game, good for 10th overall in the nation and 2nd in the conference. Good job of holding on to the ball as well. A little over 13 and a half minutes, that's 27th in the nation. Runner-up in the division would be one of our previous fearless leaders, still a fearless leader. Can't help it when you have your name in color, I guess. But Noah has done a lot for the league. So if the PS2 would cooperate with me and pull up theirs, I should just go ahead and try and pull up Wisconsin's and cut back on some time here. There we go. Penn State. Pedo State. But in real life, they actually had a respectable season, and respect the coach for staying there, too. It'd be easy to walk away and leave, but, I mean, it definitely helps when you're getting paid, and you have that clause in your contract, too. But he's done a pretty good job with the situation he's been given. Very respectable. Alright, get this all set up. So, on the season, a 8-4 season for Noel. The losses, and 5-3 in conference. The losses were to South Florida and Coach AJ, so NDL Florida doing battle. Illinois, Ohio State 31-47, Wisconsin 35-38, making DeCane work for it there at the end. I don't remember if I said South Florida, it was 34-36. And then he lost in the first round to Washington in the Cup 14-17. And then wins Indiana, Iowa, Northwestern, Utah State 28-13. Big Red, they always do battle. Early in the season, Outlaw, Middle Tennessee State 28-10. Iowa 24-21. Purdue 24-14. Nebraska 28-14. Let's see. Too many things trying to load up too many at once. Alright, players. Quarterback. Finally settled down with one there after Matt wasn't getting it done. He goes with Paul Jones. He was 88 to 144, 1,961 yards, 18 TDs, 17 picks. So 193 quarterback rating. One of few quarterbacks that has more touchdowns than interceptions. Very hard to do on this game, so very respectable. Red led the team in attempts and rushes, 105 and 570 respectively. 9 touchdowns. Receiving, Smith and Brown leading the way, 34 and 27, both receivers. 825 and 8 TDs for Smith, 630 and 6 TDs for Brown. Defensively, 42 tackles leads the way, and that's by Amos. Really looking at their top 4 guys are all within a couple of tackles of each other, so that's pretty cool. Linebackers and safeties. Sacks, we got 2 guys with 5. We got Stanley at one end, and don't remember how to say that guy's name. Linebacker, Mr. Michael M. with 5. Interceptions, you got 2 with 4. That would be Amos and Carson. And they did not score a defensive TD this season. He was 3 of 6 in field goals made. So I guess maybe the weather is having an impact on the game. And Justin Brown or lag, or just whatever. Justin Brown did run a kickback, 108 yards, so good stuff. Team stats. For the most part, the middle in the pack, or close to the middle of the pack across the board. Standouts would be the points scored, 27 and 2/3. 20th overall, 3rd in conference. And really pretty balanced all the way around. Low time of possession, but getting things done across the board in other areas. So nothing really jumps out, but really solid season for Noel, as most usually are. And then last but not least, Wisconsin wins the division, wins the conference championship game. Would I have remembered to vote in the final poll, which I feel really bad about not doing as a conference commish. I remember I set my alarm to wake up to vote, and then I fell back asleep because I was waiting for the Bucks to get completely destroyed by New Orleans. Talk about not being surprised. Oh, boy, that was a rough game. But anyway, I woke up late, so this would have been my vote for second place. Justified because, in my mind, while their out-of-conference may not have been the greatest on paper, I probably would have to look at the Massey's too, which I usually do, but just off the top of my head, I factor in the way you end the season. For example, I believe the year VT lost the conference championship game, and yeah, you lost on a Hail Mary, but still you lost. It's a conference championship game. You have the added pressure of having to get that win because of the position you're in, just because there are other one-loss teams. Granted, it's not the fairest thing in the world, but it's, a computer can say one thing, but you had a clear shot opportunity to get the job done and control your own destiny. Well, I guess everyone controls their own destiny to a certain extent, but when you are number one and you lose your last game, it leaves an impression regardless of what the other stuff looks at. It's kind of hard to make that vote. This is why I would vote for not Virginia Tech, Wisconsin. I'm looking at Virginia Tech. They lost. It's the only loss they had in the season, 38-41. Had the lead, blew the game. a very interesting, entertaining game to watch in the recap or see in the recap, all that stuff. But they did everything within their power after that to get the job done and put themselves in a position to still have it. He beat Michigan State twice, 26-14 and 42-21. Penn State and Ohio State. Indiana, Nebraska was ranked at the time. Texas Tech had a good season. Mississippi State better have had a good season. And obviously, Virginia Tech did. Texas Tech, 8-4. Good job, TJ. And Bear Ass, 8-4. Good job, Matt. I want revenge next season. But anyway, Wisconsin did have a very good season. They did everything they could down the stretch to get the job done. Then all the losses and just ridiculous poll. I may actually just, even though I didn't vote, I have my top 40, and then I was going to sort it into the top 25. I may still just announce it anyway, but I can already say right now, D-Kane, if you don't make the championship game by a couple of points, I'm going to apologize because you are going to be voted second in mine. So, stat-wise, a lot of yards on offense. O'Brien, 223 for 327. 3,500, 35 yards, 29 TDs, 20 picks. Ball, 5 yards short of 1,000, 18 TDs on 229 carries, and only along a 45, so just turning out yards, which he does. It feels like every goddamn running back on this team does after watching what they did against Nebraska. Just on principle, I probably have to vote Wisconsin down 3 because that hurt my feelings. I think I hurt a lot of people's feelings in Husker Nation. Receiving, Pedersen. I don't really like talking about this team right now, but led the team receptions with 71 yards, 1,317 and 16 TDs. Had a couple of receivers break 500 yards. Really can't help it when many yards passing. The yards have got to go somewhere. Taylor, 101 yards tackling, so a lot of work by him, and another linebacker with 64. Taylor had 22 sacks on the season. I'm pretty sure, just off the top of my head, led I was going to say the nation. Probably. Smith at corner with 23 interceptions. That also probably led the nation. And a lot of interceptions in general on this team. Let's see, defensive or special teams. I know he ran a couple punts back, so I remember those doing the. White ran back 2. How much time I got? 10 minutes. Yeah, I'll start wrapping this up. Let's see, points. 35.69, number 1 across the board. Allowed 16.38, 9th overall, 2nd in conference. Yardage 361 overall, 6th overall. 6th overall in the nation, 2nd in conference. Number 1 in sacks, forcing a little over 4 per game. Obviously, if you're number 1 in the nation, number 1 in conference. Passing, 2nd in the conference, 281 overall, 3rd in the nation. Like I said, a lot of picks, 5 per game. So number 1 overall in that. And then touchdowns, just shy of 4, 4th overall, and 2nd in conference. I believe that's behind Michigan State. So at the very worst, even if you don't go, even if Wisconsin does not go to the championship game, which we'll find out later today, they for sure will be going to the Rose Bowl. So still a good season. Don't know the bowl tie-ins off the top of my head. And I'm probably just going to wait and look more at that stuff when it's actually time for that. So, to wrap this up here, so I need to at least get this exported and try to get this uploaded so I can catch the bus to the airport. Since I can't find the other notebook. that has everything. I at least have the players of the week through week 8 in this book. So I need to find the book with the other 6. And then I had already picked out my All-Americans. I said, even though I haven't really been active, I've been in the shadows doing stuff. So, for week 3, on offense, Rex Burkhead was player of the week. 23 carries, 167 yards, 2 TDs, and a reception for 12 yards. Defense, Mike Taylor, 11 tackles, 7 for loss, and 3 sacks. Special teams would be Harbison for Minnesota. 5 kick returns for 173 yards and 95-yard touchdown. Week 4 on offense would be Houston of Indiana. 27 carries for 187 yards, 2 TDs, and 2 receptions for 12 yards. Lucas, Purdue, linebacker, had 12 tackles and 5 of those for loss. And on special teams would be the punter. Yes, that's not a misprint. Punter. Butterworth, which is a pretty awesome name for Penn State. 4 punts, 140 yards, and 2 of them were inside the 20. Week 5, Maxwell, which I'm pretty sure you could almost pick him as the offensive player of the week every week. 19 of 26, 473 yards, 4 TDs, and a pick, 269 QB rating. Compton on defense for Nebraska. 4 tackles, 3 for loss. A pass deflected, defended, recovered fumble, and a touchdown. And the kicker for Michigan State, Conroy, 2 for 2 and 6 extra points. And week 6, Pedersen, whatever, for Wisconsin. 8 catches for 102 yards and 2 TDs. P.J. Smith, the safety for Nebraska on defense. 12 tackles, 1 of those for a loss. And Maher on special teams, 2 for 2 with a long of 47 kick. Week 7 would be Braxton Miller of Ohio State. 18 of 23 for 399 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also had a rushing TD in the game as well. Devin Smith for Wisconsin defensively, 3 tackles, 3 picks, and a touchdown, and also a pass defended. And the kicker for Ohio State, Drew Basil, 2 for 2, 53 long. And lastly, in week 8 would be Wisconsin's tight end again, 7 for 214 and a TD. Frankie Williams on defense, safety for Purdue, 9 tackles. And then again, Michigan State's kicker, Conroy, 2 for 2 with a long of 53. So to wrap this up, I will upload this. Hopefully this will be posted within the next hour because I need to get somewhere. It said I need to see when the thing is going to update for crap. Oh wow, it actually is going to go through the entire game. That's pretty cool. See when the thing is going to the update, see if I can catch being around for helping whatever. I don't even know what you do in the bowl. I've been so long since I really actually I need to look. That's what I really need to do. I will have all of your stuff done as far as points. So if there's anything that I should know or anything that you would like to tell me or any question that you have, feel free to contact me. And said I'll be in Colorado in a couple of hours. So it makes it really easy now because I don't have work and internship or all these other finals, all this other crazy stuff that I've had to deal with the last couple of weeks on top of the other things. So I will have that done, and I will post all of everything that I have. I have all of the other player of the weeks, so I will list all of those. I'll just have to type them out. I don't think I'll be able to do a voice thing for being in Colorado because the last time was really choppy. But I'll try. I'll post the conference All-Americans, and I will give my take on the bowl game. So if you played a bowl game before I play, or before I can get something out, that's fine. You know, I'm sure everyone's excited, or some people are relieved, whichever, to get this season over with. So I will try to have at least one more final, that and maybe something to recap the bowls after, to make up for not being around as much as I planned on and would have liked to. So with that said, this is a super long video, and hopefully YouTube will be able to load all of it at once. So, this is me signing off.